The Milwaukee Bucks are boycotting Game 5 of their series against the Orlando Magic. They did not come out onto the court to play. The Magic were out there warming up, then went back to their locker room. There was some confusion on the court, and eventually the officials left. They put the game balls away. This game is not happening.
So today, the NBA, more specifically its players, decided to boycott the NBA games, not because of something that the NBA did, but as a demonstration once again against police brutality, in the light of the recent events regarding Jacob Blake. Now, just a disclaimer, I will not be speaking about his case in this video because that's just not within my scope. I don't want to talk about something I'm not fully informed in, and that's just not me. And I think that would be pretty irresponsible of me to talk about something with you guys and have a title claiming like I know something when I don't. But if you guys have been keeping up with this channel the past couple of months, y'all know that something I am pretty versed in is keeping up with the updates in regards to the NBA's return. More specifically, a couple months back in regards to Kyrie Irving. Yeah, I'm bringing the smoke this video. I am bringing the smoke. Now, if you guys remember, a couple months back, Kyrie Irving was talking about canceling the NBA. So quote unquote canceling the NBA, and he was being clowned hard on social media. So before we go on, let's go ahead and just refresh ourselves with the events that happened in that couple of weeks in the NBA. A couple months ago, the NBA was finalizing its plans for an NBA restart that would happen in Orlando in a bubble format, as we've seen the past couple of weeks. And at the end of it, when things were getting finalized, Kyrie Irving was at the forefront of the players who were more skeptical about the logistics of the return. At first, he was just concerned about if he was going to be able to support his team and get therapy if he wanted to go, but it then turned into, is this going to be a distraction to everything that's going on in the world? And reports started coming out that this was Kyrie's thoughts, and as the NBA community does, as a matter of fact, if you just know Kyrie, what everyone does when stuff like this comes out is they just start clowning the dude. Because, you know, how can we trust someone that thinks the world is flat? I don't know how that correlates to social justice, but let's just leave it at that. They clowned Kyrie because he was calling for the NBA to be canceled when he wasn't even one of the players who was going into the bubble. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and go back in time and let's look at the stuff people were saying about Kyrie during that time.
Use that as an excuse not to show up to work. And I don't mean excuse as if they're looking for an excuse. I'm sure that their feelings are sincere and heartfelt. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that's no reason not to show up to work.
If you take Kyrie Irving's brain and put it in a bird right now, guess what that bird is going to do? It's going to fly backwards. He's showing his lack of leadership. So Kyrie Irving, right now, you are the distraction. You are the distractor. You distracting the whole situation.
Yeah, it looks pretty silly now, right? And one of the most prominent pieces of work to come out during this period, why am I talking about this like it's art? At that time, Agent Wojnarowski released an article called Kyrie Irving, the Disruptor, which the article, if you actually read it, did not put Kyrie in the worst light. But for Agent Wojnarowski to title that article the way that he did, he knew what that title was gonna do. He knew. But the reality of the situation was Kyrie never directly called for the NBA to get canceled. He was just bringing up potential problems that the NBA bubble could potentially have because, you know, he's a vice president of the NBPA. And if there's one thing we do know about Kyrie is that he's not always going to go with the grain. He's always going to be skeptical. That is the reason why he thinks the earth is flat. And in those last couple of weeks, most of the conversations within the NBPA only involved the vice presidents, not everyone that they represented. So what Kyrie Irving wanted to do was be a representative of his people, like what a representative should be doing, and wanted to include the players who couldn't, you know, get their word in those Zoom calls. That's all he wanted to do. And he wanted all the NBA players to be on the same page. And he specifically said that if all the NBA players agreed that this was a good idea, that it wouldn't cause too much trouble, then yes, let's all go to the bubble. But if not, then obviously he's open to not going and boycotting the NBA and standing for his beliefs. The main concern Kyrie Irving had with the bubble was the potential of it being a distraction to everything that's going on. Again, I just find it crazy that people clowned him simply because he believed the earth is flat. Like, those two things do not correlate. Now, let's fast forward to today. Today, the NBA games have been canceled because the NBA players decided to boycott the games in light of the Jacob Blake situation. And this is the exact situation that Kyrie Irving was concerned about. The exact situation that y'all clowned him for. He was worried about how the NBA playoffs going on would affect the focus of the general masses in terms of focusing on his cause and a lot of his people's cause in police brutality. And quite frankly, let's just keep it a buck. It has been a distraction. It has. A couple nights ago, what was trending #1 on Twitter? LeBron and the Lakers going off against the Blazers. What was trending the night before that? Luka dropping 42 on the Clippers. That's a distraction when the #1 trending on Twitter is not the cause. Those headlines took away from articles that it shouldn't have if the NBA was not going on. And I saw Jaylen Brown the other day tweet out that he wants to protest, but obviously he can't because he's in the bubble. Now again, the question of the bubble's effectiveness is a whole different issue. I do want to make clear, I am not sitting here saying that the NBA is the answer to racism, right? All that I want is for people to admit that Kyrie Irving was not insane back then, that he wasn't crazy, that his concerns were within proper reason. He was speaking on behalf of a lot of players. He was not a disruptor. He was doing his job as a vice president of an organization made up of predominantly black men. Y'all clowned him because he did not want to play when all along he was more right than he was wrong. I said in my video a couple months ago that the reason why people were mad at Kyrie and why they were giving that energy to Kyrie and why they weren't doing that for Cap and LeBron was because what Kyrie was even alluding to affected you. It affected you because you weren't going to be able to sit on your couch and watch them play when their community is having bigger issues. So for the people who think that way, for the people who just want basketball because I haven't seen basketball in 3 to 4 months because there's a pandemic going on and there's a lot of civil unrest going on, this is the punishment. Now, on a lighter note, since we're already here, since we're talking about apologies to Kyrie Irving, let's talk about this post right here. Let's talk about it. Now, a couple days ago, this graphic popped up on my Instagram feed and I tweeted out that the double standard is crazy because if this was Kyrie Irving, the narrative would be so much different. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even an if. It was when it was Kyrie Irving, the narrative was different. It was different because when it was Kyrie Irving, the narrative was, oh, the Celtics play so much better without Kyrie. Maybe Kyrie's the cancer. But then when it's Kyrie and the Raptors, oh, it's just, man, the Raptors are such a deep team. They're so well coached. Now, I am not even trying to diss the Raptors and Kyrie. I agree. They are a team that plays good with or without Kyrie. They are a very deep team and they are a very well-coached team. But I'm just wondering where this energy was with Kyrie Irving the past 3 years. So when I tweeted it out, obviously I was attacked because I was defending Kyrie, you know, the flat earther. And a couple people said that I wasn't using B-Souls isn't using context. Oh man, B-Souls, how could you, man? You're better than this. Use your brain. The Raptors are just a team that play good with or without him. But if I remember correctly, in 2018, right? 2017, 2018. The Celtics were on pace to win 55 plus games with Kyrie Irving, if I remember correctly. The Boston Celtics had a 14 plus game winning streak with Kyrie on the team and were looking great with Kyrie on the team. However, he suffered an injury at the end of the season. The Celtics continued to play great because they had a great coach and were a very deep team with guys like Terry Rozier and Marcus Morris and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown stepping up, and they went to the Eastern Conference Finals because of that. But what happened after? Oh man, I gotta doubt Kyrie. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals without him, when we know for a fact that if Kyrie was there, they would have played better if he was there. But also another guy wanted to take a stab at me and my take and said that, B-Souls, you are not using context. Look at the games that the Raptors played without Kyrie. In those 14 games, they played some pretty weak competition, so it's not really, indicative of the reality. Again, where was that energy last year? Where was it? I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it everywhere, and it's not there. It wasn't there aside from my channel, because the 2019 Boston Celtics went 11-2 without Kyrie. And if you look at those 13 games like you did with the Raptors in those 14 games they played this year, what you would find is that the Boston Celtics only faced 3 playoff teams. Those 3 playoff teams being the Philadelphia 76ers, a sub-500 Detroit Pistons team, and a sub-500 Brooklyn Nets team. And against the Brooklyn Nets, already not a ridiculously good playoff team, they went 2-2 without Kyrie. Again, I don't think I've ever shown that much emotion while recording a video, but all I know is a lot of y'all need to apologize to that man. And that's it. I don't really have much to say. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm out. That's all there is to it.